There are heroes in life. We least expect those who don't seek recognition, who don't make noise, yet their quiet presence changes the world for someone else. Today, we bring you the story of Duke, a remarkable guide dog with a mysterious past, and Amanda, the blind woman he devoted his life to protecting. But Duke is more than just Amanda's eyes, guiding her through the challenges of daily life. He is a warrior, carrying a past that is far from ordinary. What is it about Duke's history that makes his bond with Amanda even deeper? Stay with us until the very end to witness this heartwarming story. Now, let's begin the incredible journey of the guide dog named Duke. Amanda Collins, a 34-year-old woman, lived in a quiet little town called Willow Haven. With its tree-lined streets and peaceful atmosphere, Willow Haven was a place where anyone could find comfort after a long, exhausting day. But for Amanda, it was much more than just a town. It was the place that had helped her rebuild her life after a devastating tragedy. 5 years ago, a devastating car accident stole Amanda's sight, forcing her to navigate a world of darkness. Once a thriving interior designer, she lost not only her vision, but also her confidence. She withdrew at first, struggling to adjust until she found strength in a loyal companion, Duke, a German shepherd she adopted from a center for the visually impaired. From the moment they met, Amanda sensed something special about Duke. His noble posture and sharp intelligence made him more than just a guide dog, was her silent guardian. With him by her side, she regained the courage to face life again. Each afternoon, they walked to Maple Grove Park, where towering maple trees and winding stone pathways surrounded them. Though Amanda couldn't see, she experienced the world through touch and sound, the rustling leaves, children's laughter, and birds chirping. Sitting on her favorite bench, she ran her fingers through Duke's fur, finding comfort in his unwavering presence. Have you ever felt like a place could calm your soul? She sometimes wondered. Even without her sight, Amanda found comfort in the scents of blooming wildflowers, the cool sensation of the wind brushing against her skin, and the warmth of sunlight filtering through the leaves. Every little detail reminded her that she was still connected to the world. Duke lay at her feet, always alert. His ears twitched at every sound, his sharp eyes constantly scanning his surroundings. Whether it was the crunch of footsteps in the distance or a falling leaf, he noticed everything. To Amanda, Duke wasn't just her guide, he was her strength, the one who helped her face life's challenges. But that peaceful routine was about to be shattered in a way Amanda never expected. That afternoon, the air in Maple Grove Park was calm as usual. Amanda sat on her usual bench, enjoying the quiet moment with Duke beside her. But the peace wouldn't last for long. A short distance away, a group of young men gathered near an old playground at the edge of the park. At the center of the group was Tyler, a man whose presence was impossible to ignore. His leather jacket hung loosely off his shoulders, his arms covered in tattoos, and his sharp, cold gaze carried an unsettling air. His friends were loud, their laughter disrupting the otherwise tranquil park as they smoked and joked. Some passers-by glanced at them warily but hurried on, wanting no trouble. Tyler's eyes scanned the area, looking for someone to entertain himself with. Then his gaze locked onto Amanda and Duke. A wicked smirk crossed his lips. Well, what do we have here? He nudged one of his friends. The blind girl and her little superhero dog. His group chuckled as they followed Tyler, making their way toward Amanda. His voice rang out, laced with mockery. What are you doing sitting here, blind girl? Is your dog going to save the day? His words were loud enough to catch the attention of a few people nearby, but no one dared to step in. Amanda couldn't see Tyler's expression, but the ridicule in his tone was clear. Her fingers tightened around Duke's leash, her legs trembling slightly. I'm not bothering you, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Please, just leave us alone. But Tyler wasn't done. Oh, relax. I just want to see if your dog can do some tricks, he sneered. His friends laughed behind him as he clapped his hands loudly, making sharp, sudden noises to provoke Duke. Amanda flinched at the harsh claps, her heart pounding in her chest. Go away, she said more firmly, trying to mask the fear creeping into her voice. Tyler took another step closer, his voice dripping with sarcasm. What's the matter? You scared? He tilted his head toward Duke. Let's see if your mutt has the guts to do something about it. Duke immediately shifted from his relaxed posture. In an instant, he was on his feet, ears standing tall, eyes locked onto Tyler. A deep, rumbling growl rose from his throat low and warning. Tyler scoffed but hesitated for a brief second, catching the intensity in Duke's gaze. He quickly masked his unease with a smirk. It's just a dog. What's it gonna do to me? From a distance, a few passers-by slowed their steps, watching the confrontation unfold. Some whispered to each other, but still, no one stepped in. Feeling emboldened by the silence around him, Tyler clapped his hands even louder, laughing as he stepped forward. What if I kicked him? Would he fight back? Amanda's breath caught in her throat. Please, just leave us alone, she said, her voice firm but pleading. But Tyler smirked, raising his foot slightly as if preparing to kick Duke. Let's see what happens. That was the moment Duke acted. Like a coiled spring, he shifted his stance in an instant. His body moved with precision, stepping fully in front of Amanda, shielding her. His growl deepened into something even more powerful and unmistakable warning. Tyler's friends, who had been laughing just moments before, fell silent. A few of them even took small steps backward, suddenly realizing that Duke was not an ordinary dog. Tyler hesitated again, but his pride refused to let him back down. He lifted his foot higher, pretending to kick at Duke, and that's when Duke let out a commanding, thunderous bark. The sound was sharp, powerful, and filled with authority. Tyler flinched, stepping back instinctively. Duke didn't lunge, didn't attack, but his presence alone was enough to send a message. This dog, a woman nearby whispered to her friend. He's different. For the first time, Tyler's confidence wavered. His smirk faltered. He shifted on his feet, looking down at Duke with a flicker of unease. But even then, he wasn't entirely ready to back down. Then, a deep, authoritative voice cut through the tension. That's enough. Everyone turned. An older man approached. He wore a faded khaki jacket and an old military cap, his sharp gaze carrying the weight of experience. Tyler turned to him, raising an eyebrow. "Who are you?" he asked, trying to keep his careless demeanor. But the man wasn't looking at Tyler. His eyes were locked onto Duke. And with quiet certainty, he said, "This boy, he's no ordinary dog." Tyler narrowed his eyes at the older man, his smirk faltering slightly. "No ordinary dog? What are you talking about, old man?" The stranger ignored him and instead focused on Duke. His sharp gaze studied the German shepherd's stance, the way his body was positioned steady, controlled, unwavering. His eyes reflected recognition, as if he had seen dogs like Duke before. "This boy," the man said, his voice calm but firm. "He's had training, and not just any training. His posture, his awareness, the way he's reacting. This isn't just a guide dog. This is a soldier." Amanda turned her head towards the stranger, her fingers still gripping Duke's leash. Who are you?" she asked, hesitantly. The man straightened his stance. "Thomas Foster," he introduced himself. "I served in the military for over 20 years. I worked with dogs like him. And I can tell you with certainty your Duke wasn't just trained to guide. He was trained to protect." Tyler scoffed, rolling his eyes. "Military dog? Yeah, right. He's just a dumb mutt pretending to be tough." But despite his words, there was an unease in his voice, a crack in his confidence. He glanced at Duke again. This time, with a bit more hesitation. Thomas took a step forward, his gaze hardening. "Son, I suggest you leave while you still can, because if you think that dog is afraid of you, you're making a serious mistake." Tyler let out a short, dry laugh, but his bravado was fading. One of his friends nudged him. "Tyler, maybe we should just—" "We're leaving," Tyler interrupted sharply, as if the decision had been his all along. He shot a final glare at Duke, then turned on his heel. "Come on," he muttered, and his group followed him. As they walked away, Thomas shook his head. "Fools," he muttered under his breath before turning back to Amanda. Amanda exhaled, her body still tense from the encounter. "Thank you," she said softly. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't stepped in." Thomas gave her a reassuring nod. "You were never in danger. That dog of yours wouldn't have let anything happen to you." He crouched down, looking Duke directly in the eyes. "Isn't that right, boy?" Duke remained still, but his ears perked slightly. Amanda swallowed hard. "You said he's no ordinary guide dog." Thomas nodded. "I'd bet my life on it." A strange feeling settled in Amanda's chest. She had always known Duke was special, his intelligence, his discipline, the way he carried himself. But she had never once questioned his past. "Do you think he really was a military dog?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Thomas hesitated for only a moment before responding, "I don't just think it, I know it." That evening, Amanda couldn't shake Thomas's words. Sitting on her couch, she absent-mindedly ran her fingers through Duke's fur as he lay calmly at her feet. But everything felt different now. Who had Duke been before? Unable to ignore the question, she searched for organizations handling retired military dogs and soon found heroes of service. Taking a deep breath, she dialed the number, her heart pounding. After a few rings, a calm yet professional voice answered. "Thank you for calling Heroes of Service. This is Lauren. How can I?" Amanda tightened her grip on her phone. "Hi, my name is Amanda Collins. I have a guide dog named Duke, and someone told me he might have been a military dog before coming to me. I wanted to see if there's any way to confirm that." There was a pause on the other end before Lauren responded. "We can certainly help you look into that. Most military service dogs have an ID number or official records. Do you have any identifying details? A registration number? A microchip ID?" Amanda bit her lip, trying to remember. Then, she suddenly recalled the adoption paperwork she had received when she got Duke from the Center for the Visually Impaired. There had been a serial number printed on one of the documents. "I think I have a number here," she said, flipping through an old folder of documents. Finding what she was looking for, she carefully read the number aloud. Lauren typed it in. "Give me a moment," she said. Amanda could hear the sound of keys clicking in the background. Seconds stretched into what felt like an eternity. Then, Lauren's voice returned, slightly more serious than before. "Amanda, I found a match." Amanda sat up straighter. "You did?" "Yes. Your doggy's original name wasn't Duke. His real name was Ranger. And according to our records, Ranger was a military working dog." Amanda's breath caught in her throat. "Ranger," she whispered, testing the name. Lauren continued, "He served in high-risk missions overseas, mostly in conflict zones. He was part of critical search and protection operations before retiring." The world around Amanda seemed to slow down. "But why would he become a guide dog?" she asked, her voice trembling. Lauren's tone softened. "Many military dogs are retrained after their service. Some are placed in homes, while others take on new roles like therapy dogs or guide dogs. Ranger went through specialized training after retirement and was eventually placed at the center where you adopted him." Amanda swallowed the lump in her throat. Everything made sense now, the discipline, the alertness, the way Duke always seemed one step ahead of everything. He hadn't just been trained to guide, he had been trained to protect. But then Lauren said something that made Amanda's heart skip a beat. "Amanda, Ranger wasn't just any military dog. He had a handler, a soldier named Mark Mitchell. According to our records, Mark currently lives in Montana. If you want to know more about Ranger's past, you might want to reach out to him." Amanda's hands trembled slightly. "Mark Mitchell," she repeated. "I can provide his contact information if you'd like," Lauren offered. Amanda nodded. even though Lauren couldn't see her. "Yes, please." Lauren gave her the number and reassured her that Heroes of Service would always be available if she needed further assistance. When the call ended, Amanda sat frozen for a long time, staring down at Duke, who lay quietly at her feet. He had always been her guardian, her protector, but now she knew he had been a hero long before he ever met her. Reaching out, she gently stroked Duke's head. "Ranger," she whispered. Duke's ears twitched slightly at the name. Amanda smiled through her tears. "You were a hero once, and you still are." But she wasn't done. She needed to know more. With a deep breath, she picked up her phone again. And this time, she dialed the number of Mark Mitchell. The phone rang twice before a deep, slightly raspy voice answered. "Hello, this is Mark Mitchell." Amanda swallowed hard, her fingers tightening around the phone. "Hello, Mr. Mitchell. My name is Amanda Collins. I hope I'm not disturbing you, but I have something important to tell you." She hesitated before continuing, her voice trembling. "I believe I'm taking care of a dog that once belonged to you, a dog named Ranger." A moment of silence stretched on the other end of the line. Then she heard a sharp inhale, followed by a voice thick with emotion. "Ranger?" Mark repeated, as if trying to process what he had just heard. He's alive?" Amanda nodded instinctively, even though he couldn't see her. "Yes, he's my guide dog now. He's been by my side for a long time." Mark's voice came back, quieter this time. "I can't believe this. I never thought I'd hear his name again." There was a heaviness in his words, a weight of memories that Amanda could sense even through the phone. "He's doing great," she reassured him. "He's been helping me through so many challenges." Her voice wavered slightly. "I had no idea about his past until today." Mark let out a soft chuckle, though it was tinged with emotion. "Ranger wasn't just a dog, he was my teammate. He saved my life more times than I can count." Amanda felt her throat tighten. "Can you tell me more about him?" she asked gently. "I want to know what he was like before he came to me." There was a pause, as if Mark was gathering his thoughts. When he spoke again, his voice was steady, but filled with deep emotion. "Ranger was exceptional," he said. "Not just smart fearless. He was always the first to step into danger during search and protection missions. One time, our unit was in a high-risk zone. We had no idea there was an explosive device hidden nearby. Ranger detected it before any of us even realized we were in danger. If it hadn't been for him," he trailed off, "none of us would have made it out." Amanda's heart pounded. "He really saved your life?" Mark let out a soft, almost disbelieving chuckle. "Not just once, more times than I care to remember. He had an instinct, an ability to assess situations faster than any of us. There was another time we were ambushed in the middle of the night. Ranger woke me up just in time. He threw himself between me and the attackers, drawing their attention so I could react. He got injured that night." His voice faltered. "But he never backed down. Not until we were all safe." Amanda ran a gentle hand through Duke's fur, her chest tightening at the thought of him in the middle of a battlefield, risking everything. Mark's voice softened. "I worried about him after I left the service. He was injured and sent back home to recover, but I never knew what happened to him after that. And now, hearing that he's alive, that he's with you," he exhaled, as if trying to steady himself. "You have no idea how much this means to me." Tears welled in Amanda's eyes. "Mr. Mitchell, I don't know what to say except thank you. Thank you for sharing his story with me. Duke Ranger has been my protector, my best friend, and now I understand why he's so special." There was a brief pause. Then Mark's voice returned, this time softer. "If you wouldn't mind, I'd love to see Range again, just to know he's happy. That would mean the world to me." Amanda hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "I would love that," she said. "And I think Duke would too." The next morning in Willow Haven, the sky was clear, the golden sunlight casting a soft glow over the peaceful streets. Amanda stood on her front porch, gripping Duke's leash tightly. Her heart pounded with nervous anticipation. Today was the day. The night before, Mark had called to say he was driving through the night to reach Willowhaven. His voice had been exhausted yet full of excitement, as if nothing could stop him from reuniting with his old friend. "Ranger saved my life more times than I can count," he had said. "My life wouldn't feel complete if I didn't see him again." Amanda knelt beside Duke, stroking his fur. "Today is special," she whispered. "You know that, don't you?" Duke lifted his head, his intelligent eyes reflecting understanding. His tail swayed slight not in excitement, but in quiet awareness, as if he knew what was about to happen. A moment later, a silver-blue pickup truck appeared at the end of the road, slowing as it approached Amanda's house. Amanda instinctively tightened her grip on Duke's leash, a wave of unexplainable nerves washing over her. The truck came to a stop. The door swung open. And then there he was. Mark Mitchell stepped out, his posture strong despite the exhaustion in his eyes. He wore an old leather jacket, his boots dusted from the long road trip. But what stood out most was the raw emotion on his face. He looked at Amanda, then at Duke. His breath caught in his throat. "Amanda?" he asked, as if needing confirmation that this was real. She nodded. "It's me." Then, with a small, emotional smile, she gestured toward the dog beside her. "And this is Ranger." The moment Duke heard his old name, his entire body tensed, his ears shot up, his muscles tightening. Then something remarkable happened. In an instant, the ever-composed, disciplined guide dog broke into a sprint. The leash slipped from Amanda's grasp, but she didn't try to stop him. This was his moment. Duke Ranger raced toward Mark, his tail wagging wildly. His deep, knowing eyes were bright with emotion, filled with recognition. When he reached Mark, he leapt up, placing his front paws against the man's chest, letting out a series of soft, trembling whimper-shalf in greeting, half in heartfelt reproach for the years spent apart. Mark dropped to his knees, his arms wrapping tightly around the dog who had once saved his life. His voice broke as he whispered, "You still remember me?" Amanda stood frozen, her vision blurred with tears. She had never seen Duke react this way before. He had always been her loyal, steadfast protector, but now she saw something else. He was a soldier, a warrior, a friend, who had finally found his way back to someone who had meant everything to him. Mark buried his face in Ranger's fur, his shoulders shaking slightly. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice raw with emotion. "Thank you for not forgetting me." A few steps away, Amanda wiped at her eyes, her heart swelling with gratitude. Mark finally looked up, meeting her gaze. "You have no idea what this means to me," he said. "Ranger wasn't just a service dog. He was family. He stood by me when I thought I wouldn't make it. And now, seeing him happy, seeing him safe..." He trailed off, swallowing hard. "I can never thank you enough." Amanda nodded, her voice thick with emotion. "You can call him Ranger," she said. "I think he'd love to hear that name from you." Mark let out a soft chuckle, his gaze warm as he looked at the dog who had once been his lifeline. "Thank you, Amanda. Thank you for giving him a home, for taking care of him. It means everything." Ranger took a step back, his eyes shifting between Mark and Amanda, as if understanding that he didn't have to choose between them both were equally important in his life. Amanda watched them, her heart full. This was more than just a reunion. It was a testament to love, loyalty, and the unbreakable bond between a soldier and his dog. And in Duke Ranger's deep, knowing eyes, she saw a truth that needed no words. He had been a hero once, and he still was. Inside Amanda's small home, unspoken emotions filled the air. The warmth of the reunion lingered as Mark sat across from her, while Duke Ranger lay between them, torn between his past and present. Though calm, his protective gaze shifted between them, silently reaffirming his loyalty. Mark ran a hand through Ranger's fur, exhaling. I spent years wondering where he ended up, if he was happy. And now, knowing he's been protecting you all this time, it's more than I ever hoped for." Amanda smiled, brushing Duke's coat. "He changed my life. When I lost my sight, I thought my world had ended, but he showed me I wasn't alone," she chuckled. "I guess he's always been in the business of saving people." Mark's expression turned thoughtful. "Did you know Ranger wasn't just another military service dog? He was something more." Amanda tilted her head. "What do you mean?" Mark sighed. "He didn't just detect danger. He had an instinct, a sharp ability to assess threats before we even realized them. During our missions, Ranger wasn't just a protector, he was our lifeline." His voice softened. "There was one mission. I still think about it." Amanda leaned in, listening intently. "We were deep in a conflict zone," Mark began. "It was supposed to be a routine sweep, but things went south fast. Our unit was advancing through an abandoned village when Ranger stopped. Just froze. His ears went up and I knew instantly was wrong." Amanda's fingers tightened slightly on Duke's fur. Mark took a deep breath. "He found it, an explosive, hidden beneath a pile of debris. If we had taken even one more step, we wouldn't have made it out." His jaw clenched. "Ranger saved all of us that day." Amanda let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Mark continued, his voice tinged with emotion. "But that wasn't the only time. Another night, we were ambushed in the dark. Ranger woke me up before any of us even knew what was happening. He charged straight toward the enemy, drawing their fire so we could get into position." Mark's eyes darkened slightly. "He got hurt that night. Took a hit. But even then, he didn't stop until he knew we were safe." Amanda reached down and ran her fingers through Duke's fur, her throat tightening. She could picture it, the fearless dog standing in the face of danger, never backing down. Mark smiled, but it was a sad smile. "I always wondered what happened to him after that. When I left the service, I was told he'd been retired, but I didn't know where he ended up." He let out a breath and looked at Amanda. "Now I do." A quiet moment passed between them. Amanda swallowed past the lump in her throat. "He's still the same," she said softly. "Still watching. Still protecting. I might not be a soldier, but to him, I think I'm just as important." Mark nodded. "That's because you are." Duke Ranger lifted his head slightly at the sound of their voices, his deep, intelligent eyes scanning the two people in front of him, his past and his present. And as if making a choice, he slowly laid his head against Amanda's knee. Amanda smiled, gently running her fingers over his head. Mark watched them, his expression unreadable for a moment. Then he chuckled. "You're lucky," he said. "Ranger was always a little stubborn. If he chose you, that means he's with you for life." Amanda laughed softly. "I wouldn't have it any other way." A comfortable silence settled in the room, broken only by the rhythmic sound of Duke's steady breathing. Then Mark spoke again, this time more thoughtful. "You know, we always thought of Ranger as a hero. But what I realize now is that heroes don't stop being heroes just because their mission changes." He glanced at Duke, admiration in his gaze. "His mission used to be protecting soldiers, now it's you." Amanda felt warmth bloom in her chest. Mark exhaled and gave Duke one final scratch behind the ears. "Thank you," he said. Whether to Amanda or to Ranger, she wasn't sure. Amanda smiled, resting her hand gently on Duke's back. "No," she whispered, "thank you." That afternoon, Mark drove away, his truck disappearing down the quiet streets of Willow Haven. Amanda stood on her doorstep, watching until the vehicle was nothing more than a distant memory. Then she looked down at Duke, who stood beside her, his head tilted slightly, as if he, too, understood the weight of what had just happened. "You've lived such a brave life," she murmured, resting her hand gently on his head. "But now you've chosen me, and I promise you'll never be alone." Duke looked up at her, his deep, knowing eyes seeming to understand every word. His tail wagged slight, not in excitement, but in quiet contentment, a gesture full of trust. In that moment, Amanda knew that some bonds were unbreakable. Duke had been a hero once, and in his own way, he still was. That night, as the moonlight streamed through the window, Amanda sat on the couch, Duke curled up beside her. She let out a quiet sigh, her fingers absent-mindedly running through his fur. "You're not just my guide," she whispered. "You're my friend, my protector, my hero." Duke shifted slightly, resting his head gently against her leg in silent acknowledgement. Amanda smiled, a single tear slipping down her cheek, not from sadness, but from gratitude. She had always thought that Duke was guiding her through life. But maybe, just maybe, he was teaching her something even more important. The kind of loyalty that never fades. The kind of courage that doesn't need words. The kind of love that lasts a lifetime.